Let's talk a little bit about the FAR exam, Financial Accounting and Reporting. Now, with the FAR exam, as I mentioned, it is a 4-hour exam, a 4-hour experience, a 4-hour tour. That was a 3-hour tour. But anyway, here's FAR. With financial accounting, what's included in there? You've got a whole bunch of area about intermediate accounting, intermediate 1, intermediate 2, advanced government nonprofit. So it has a variety of areas. In the front of the book, you'll see the content specification outline where it breaks it out by percentage. FAR doesn't give you a lot of detail because it's broken up in like 30% type things, but it has things like, we'll talk about the balance sheet, receivables, inventory. We'll talk about bonds, leases, deferred taxes, contingent liabilities, consolidations, partnership equity, foreign currency translation and remeasurement, derivative instruments, governmental accounting, nonprofit. Governmental accounting and nonprofit are about 12% each, 8 to 12% each, let's say 10% each. That's about 20 to 25% government nonprofit. Some of you have never seen it before. That's why I'll cover it in detail. It's towards the end of FAR, so you see it just before the exam, so it's fresh in your head. As far as what the exam looks like, again, it's a 4-hour exam. Now, you're going to have testlet number 1, testlet 2, and testlet 3. Then you're going to have testlet 4, which will be your task-based simulations. These 3 parts together make up 60% of your score. The task-based simulations make up 40% of your score. Now, on FAR, you're going to have 30 multiple choice, 30 multiple choice, and 30 multiple choice. So you're going to have 30, 30, and 30 going across. 30 multiple choice. Now, within those multiple choice, you'll click on the box. It opens up. Here's a question. Here are the 4 choices. At the bottom of the page, it's listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 30. What's kind of cool about the new exam, when you put your mouse over that, you'll see the actual question. So let's say I put a mouse over number 4, the question will pop up at the bottom. So that way, as I'm going through the questions, if I feel like, you know what, some questions you're going to look at and go, I know this. Some questions you're going to look at and go, I'm never going to know this lifetime. That's fine. Pick something, move on. It's the ones in the middle where you go, I think it's either A or it's C, but I need more time. Let me mark something C, and I'll mark it here. So you want to mark some. Now, you don't want to mark them all. You want to have time to come back, all right? But you want to mark it so that way you can come back to it. Now, with the multiple choice, there's 2 levels of difficulty, moderate and difficult. The first 30 are moderate. The next 30, if you do well, get difficult, stay difficult. So you could have moderate, difficult, difficult, moderate, difficult, moderate, 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 difficult. As you're moving across, they tend to get more difficult. Now, as far as the timing, as I said, you need to watch the clock carefully. And in watching the clock carefully, that means that I've got to allow over here, there's going to be, let's see, boom, boom, boom. There's going to be 7 task-based simulations in FAR, 7. I need about 15 minutes each, which is 105 minutes. So I've got 105 minutes to get through these. The exam is 4 hours in length. That's 240 minutes. That leaves me with like about 135 minutes. So that means that I've got, about 105 minutes. So what that means is I've got basically to get through in about 45 minutes, I've got to get through each of these. So that means that as you're setting up your timing, you need to realize that for the 30 questions, you've got about 45 minutes. So what is the clock? What should it look like? And this is what I always suggest you write down on your scratch piece of paper. Because when you go in, they give you a scratch piece of paper and a pencil. So what do I want you to write down? I want you to write down the time you expect to finish the first 30. When should you finish the first 30? Your clock should say about 3:25, 3 hours and 25 minutes left. Then the next 30, your clock should say something like 2 hours and 30 minutes left. And then the next 30, and then your clock should say something like 1:45. And then the next 4 or 7 task-based simulations, you go down to 0. So it's important to make sure that that's what your clock is saying. Because again, if I'm talking about 105 minutes, right, which is an hour and 45, so that means that, boom, I've got to make sure that as I get from 4 hours to 3:25, that's, 3:25, is that right? Let's see, 45 minutes is 3:15. There we go. That's better. So 4 hours, 3:15, 2:30, 1:45, and then 0. So it's important that as you're working, and you get over here, I've done the first 30, and I'm going back to check them. I look at the clock. If the clock says 3:18, I'm still good. If the clock says 3:04, guess what? I'm going a little bit slow. I need to pick up the pace. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time here. And the two exams people tend to run out of time are FAR and Reg. FAR and Reg. So you really have to watch the clock carefully for those two parts. So I go through these, then boom. Then it'll say, when I'm here, are you done with it? Yes. Do you want to take a break? No. You never want to take a break. Why not? The clock keeps ticking. So, do you want to take a break? No. Then you go to the next. Now, it's kind of like life and a bad relationship. Once you leave the first group, you can never go back. Leave it, never go back, and so on. So you want to make sure that when you're done with the first set, you're moving on to the next, moving on to the next. Then you get over here to the task-based simulations. There are going to be 7 of them. Of the 7, 1 is not graded. It's pre-tested only. You don't know which one is or is not being pre-tested, so you have to do a good job on all of them. One of them is also a research type question. So what does that mean? One of them is on research, so that means that they're going to basically have you go through and do some research, and I will talk about that in the course as far as how to prepare and how to do the research. So you're going to have 7 of these. Of the 7, 6 are graded, 1 is pre-tested. One of them is on research. On the research here, it could be like accounting standard codification. So the research is on a variety of different topics. And in the intro section, I have several pages set up where I talk in detail about the research component and what you need to look at as far as preparing for it. But with the research, you'll see there it talks about how we're looking, how we're setting it up, what needs to be done as far as getting through that part. So definitely plan to look at that in your notes so that way you can read it over and be comfortable with doing research. I've also included that with your software, so as you go through that, you can practice as well. So again, you've got 7 of these of the task-based simulations. When you click on that, basically it opens up a window, and you could have a couple of different tabs within it. Also, one of them is a calculator. They do give you a calculator. It's an on-screen calculator, but it only does basic functions. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. It does keep a running tape now, so if you want to go back and see, did I include that number or not, that is included in there as well. But again, this is the format of the exam. It'll be exactly like the software that I'm giving you. Also, go to the website, aicpa.org, and you'll see more information on how to practice with, again, the functionality of the multiple choice, the functionality of the software as far as the task-based simulations, as far as also practicing with a research question. So again, realize what it's about. The main thing is watching the clock carefully to make sure you do not run out of time. All right? So very important. The most important thing now is me teaching you the material so that you focus, you study, you do all the homework 2 to 3 times, and you too are going to get through this exam. All right? Study hard. See you soon.